Hello and welcome to our Industry 4.0 educational series sponsored by the Economic Growth Institute at the University of Michigan and the Manufacturing Growth Alliance. I am Stephanie Ludwig, a project manager here at the Institute, and I will be guiding you through the program today. EGI has been working with small to medium-sized manufacturers across the state of Michigan for more than 35 years, and we are very excited to be partnering with the Manufacturing Growth Alliance to continue our on-demand series to educate manufacturers in the state of Michigan on some of the core technologies that uh, comprise Industry 4.0. Today, our topic will be cloud computing, and we have Joel Kolodzic, the Vice President from Brightline IT, to present. After the presentation, I will provide some additional information on opportunities and resources that are available for manufacturers in the state of Michigan who are located in Southwest Michigan, Northeast Michigan, and the Upper Peninsula, who may be interested in implementing some of these technologies into your manufacturing environment. So stay tuned for that. With that, I would like to turn it over to Joel. Take it away, Joel.
Hi, welcome to this introduction to cloud computing. My name is Joel Kolodzic, and I'll be walking you through some of the key concepts and aspects of cloud computing that you may or may not be aware of. But we're going to be going through on a very simplistic level of the entry into cloud and moving your data and some of your operations into cloud initiatives to help run your business more efficiently, effectively, and securely. I'm a computer network professional as well as a cybersecurity expert. I've been helping small and medium businesses build and secure their networks for nearly 25 years. Right now, I work on cybersecurity initiatives for those companies, as well as work on day-to-day operations for Brightline Technologies in Michigan. The primary goal of this presentation is to simply give you a brief overview into cloud computing. I'm going to talk about a few topics that are just going to touch on some of the main aspects of cloud computing and some of the considerations that you should have prior to moving into any cloud initiative. This is not by any means to be a comprehensive guide, but simply a starting point for your considerations. We're going to talk about some of the benefits and some of the challenges that you'll face when entering into the cloud space. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing, simply put, is the remote availability of computer resources without your direct management involvement. So basically, you have access to compute resources and applications and your data, and it doesn't have to reside in-house on servers and expensive network operating systems. There are three primary models for cloud computing. The first is public, then you have private, and you have a hybrid option, which is a mix of both of those. In the public cloud space, in essence, you have access to applications or data on a shared platform that other companies and users will have access to. In a private cloud space, you are the only one that is dedicated to that hardware where your cloud system runs. There are no other customers or clients that have access to that system. All of these systems have their advantages, and they are all managed typically by data centers or third-party organizations. In most cases, these organizations specialize in the cloud hosting or the management of those cloud hosted resources. And most simply stated, in cloud computing, you can take any computer resource and host it in the cloud so you can have access to it virtually anywhere. Let's talk about some of the benefits of cloud computing. One of the key benefits of moving to the cloud is cost savings. Now, you can save costs by shrinking your IT staff when you no longer need to manage resources because they're moved to the cloud, and that burden is put on the data centers and or third-party IT companies. You don't have to keep up with attrition of your server systems if those are the resources that you've moved to the cloud. You also Don't have to worry about software maintenance and the costs involved in that, as well as hardware warranties. And those are just some of the few ways that you can save money by moving to the cloud. Another benefit of cloud computing is security. Now, in most cases, many cloud providers have a very robust system security plan. And what that means is most likely their security measures are much stronger than what you've implemented at your own business. Cloud systems are routinely patched on a much more regular basis, typically than what you would find a private entity patching their systems. Also, these can include physical security. To walk into a data center is very difficult if you don't have the credentials to be able to access the building. So system security seems to be a high priority for many cloud providers. I'm not saying it's all-encompassing because it certainly isn't, but it's something you should consider when you're moving to the cloud and providing yourself with a security assessment where things are at and how it's accessed is of utmost importance. Another aspect you should consider when moving to the cloud is the reliability of your systems. So most cloud providers will closely monitor their systems for failed components. So they already have the systems built in for this. Many business organizations do not. And if you do, that's also expensive to upkeep and to keep track of, and also have the staff to monitor and maintain those systems. Cloud providers focus heavily on uptime and availability of their systems. That's the business that they're in. That's the business that they focus on the most. So you can expect a much higher uptime and availability to a system in the cloud rather than trying to maintain and run your own system. Another aspect of the reliability is that cloud systems are updated uniformly. That means all of their systems are interoperable, meaning that they're all on the same version of firmwares and updates so that they can function properly and work well in between each system component. And flexibility in a cloud system is a key component. This gives you the ability to quickly add and remove computer resources. So for example, if you have a database that needs a little bit more power or more memory, you can quickly add those. In most cases, you can add those on the fly, where you can log into a portal and give yourself those added resources. Costs can obviously shrink or expand with staff fluctuations in your organization. So for example, if you add 5 to 10 staff members and you need more compute resources, those can be added very quickly. The cost will rise, but also in the opposite direction, if you shrink your staff, your cost can also lower. So it's a direct relation to the number of employees you have accessing those resources. Another aspect of flexibility is that many cloud providers will give you the ability to do migrations and sandboxing. So you can sandbox resources to test them out before you put them in a live environment. And this alleviates the need for you to have to buy more hardware or other resources to spin up to test those systems. These can also be very short term, so your cost for those added resources can be very small. Mobility is a great aspect of cloud systems. No matter whether you're on a private, public, or hybrid cloud, mobility gives you the access to compute and connect from virtually anywhere in the world. Another nice benefit of the mobility is that your endpoints most times can be agnostic. So for example, if you have a web application that can be delivered through a modern web browser, it doesn't matter if you have a phone or a tablet, a laptop, a desktop, or any other device that has the ability to provide a web browser to you. You should be able to access those applications with ease. And being in the cloud may give you greater access to your systems. And by that I mean you may have better bandwidth coming from the data center. You may have more systems that are up and running at all times to give you access to your systems. Now, many of you might or might not have disaster recovery plans for your business. Now, this is extremely important. As you know, a downtime of any given time can ruin and destroy a business. So moving to the cloud is more enticing because disaster recovery plans are normally built into these systems. There's a lot of resiliency with a lot of these data centers. Many of them have geographic diversity, meaning that they have data centers in multiple geographic locations, and systems from one location are fully backed up to another location by way of data copies or snapshots of your systems. Most data centers carry multiple snapshots and backups of your systems. Because of this resiliency and the strong data recovery plans, recovery time in the cloud may be much faster than recovery with an on-site system. Another benefit of cloud computing is insight. That is, insight into your data. Many data centers already have the mechanisms built in to analyze and produce reports for your data repositories. So with that information, you can make better business decisions which drive efficiency and cost savings. And many companies also realize higher profits when they're able to analyze their data correctly and see it from a different perspective, which they may have not seen from a native system that they manage themselves. Automatic software updates is also an important consideration in the cloud. So many of your cloud systems are updated and refreshed automatically, so that reduces your downtime. And that also saves you a lot of time and cost savings because you don't have to have staff that will run a system-wide update, keeping your productivity people down, and also while paying your IT folks to manage these updates. So along with all the benefits of cloud computing also comes many challenges. And I'm going to touch on a few of these challenges today and give you some insight into what some of the biggest challenges are with moving your systems or data to the cloud. So we're going to start out with the big one, security and privacy. That is by far the biggest challenge in cloud computing today. So we have to make sure all of our data is encrypted at rest when it's sitting on the system and nobody's using it, and in transport as you're accessing that data. Because you don't want to access data and have it pushing over the public internet and have somebody spying on it or capturing that data as it travels. Security and software can be expensive. To accomplish any of your encryption needs, this is also an added expense. So the consideration of, is your data private? That's something you have to verify with your data service provider and make sure that they have all the action plans and security plans in place. One, to protect your data, and two, in any event that they need to lock you down and keep you safe, that they're prepared for such things. This can be a burden on anybody that doesn't have the insight or the technical knowledge to verify that this is how those cloud systems will be run. Another challenge that we found with cloud computing is portability. So let's say you have an application that you're using, a main line of business software, and all of your data or much of your important day-to-day business data resides in the system. And at some point you realize that this system just isn't what you need for your business, and you need to migrate that system to another one. It may be that the format of this data is incompatible with another system. In other words, it's in some proprietary format that you're unable to transfer to another system. Or another challenge is that the data is given to you in tables or a big chunk that another system is going to have a difficult time parsing out and embedding into their system. There may not be a one-to-one match on each field of data that you use. Another challenge that we have is interoperability within our applications. That is to say, the ability of one application to speak to another. So for example, if I have an application that has a certain set of data and I need to get that data into another application where I can use that for different aspects of my business, we may not have the ability to do so. So interoperability will allow us to have those different applications in different clouds or different locations to communicate with each other and share certain amounts of information. In the cloud, this can be challenging depending on the proprietary aspect of the application provider itself and or the data center and what they're allowing for access to their systems. Computing performance is an important consideration. For example, if you have a high network bandwidth intensive application, that can drive up costs within the data center and be cost prohibitive as well. On the opposite end of that, if you have a data center that has a low network bandwidth available, that could hinder your operations and slow down your workflows. One consideration to look at is vendor lock-in. Now, this is not as common as it used to be in the beginning of cloud services, but vendor lock-in is something to seriously consider. And what that means is in your contracts with the cloud provider, you may be locked into them for a certain period of time, and or your data could actually be the property of the cloud provider. So you need to look at the contracts and the service agreements very carefully to make sure that, one, the data that you create with their systems you own. So you want to make sure you have that box checked. And secondly, you want to make sure that you have the ability to migrate or move off of their system and be able to acquire all of your data intact and readable so that you can move it to whatever the next place is for that data. One of the last challenges that I want to talk about is reliability and availability of systems in the cloud. Now, all cloud providers vary in system design and the resiliency that they've built in to keep you up and running. So that is something that you want to address when you're going into the cloud. Ask data providers for their system security plans and their data retention and their uptime and the resiliency, so you can have a clear picture of what that might be. If a data provider can't provide that to you, obviously that's a red flag and you should probably move on to another provider. So if a provider is down, you're at the mercy of that provider and how quickly they can get back up and running. So you have zero control over that. One example in just the internet space is Comcast. So Comcast cable is inexpensive in our area and it's a choice for a lot of businesses. However, there's no federal regulations that say they have to stay up and running. And if they're down, we're at the mercy of them being down. And this is no different with cloud providers. If they're down, you're just at the mercy of how quickly they can get back up and running. One thing, it does serve their best interest to stay up and running and always be available, but that is not always the case with all providers. So do your due diligence and find out what type of systems they have to back themselves up and what would happen in the event of any downtime. You also want to consider any single points of failure that may exist on your network with them. So where that application resides, are there multiple servers? Are there multiple internet lines? What does the power look like to power their facilities? And are they in any geographically dangerous zones such as flood zones or tornado zones? And normally data centers are not built in those areas. In fact, a lot of them like to use that as marketing, that they're in areas that are not susceptible to any natural occurrences, but that's something you want to look into as well. Let's talk about cloud technology and manufacturing. Now, this will just be a very brief overview, but there are many advantages that cloud can help with as far as efficiencies in the manufacturing process and also its business-related operations. One of the simplest forms of cloud technology for manufacturing are ERP solutions, or enterprise resource planning. These solutions can be cloud hosted, accessible through a web browser or any modern remote access, such as a remote desktop or remote app. And in this instance, all of your data would reside in one place, in the cloud, and accessible to you and your employees. Other advantages include freeing your company from maintaining its servers and data repositories. The risk of losing data becomes much less in the cloud model, and having a main source for company information keeps the integrity of the data intact and reduces data sprawl and misinformation. And data sprawl is where you have data for your business sitting in multiple locations, and a lot of times due to user activity in many locations of which you are not aware as a business owner. Misinformation come from the fact that many separate data repositories may not be the same. In other words, you might have one piece of information that's updated on one system, but not updated in another. Thus, creates the potential for providing you misinformation if you're looking into a system that is not the most recent or most updated. Cloud technologies are scalable, making utilizing their resources much easier. Cloud technologies should be considered a must-have for all manufacturers. One of the primary reasons is that your competitors are adopting cloud technologies at a very fast pace, and they're realizing all the advantages of cloud, and what's going to happen is those efficiencies that they're creating is going to outpace the efficiencies of those who have not adopted cloud, driving costs down for your competitors and keeping you at a high cost operation. If you want to compete in the future of manufacturing, you need to adopt cloud services and smart manufacturing practices. In conclusion to this simple overview of cloud services, manufacturers can realize many advantages to cloud computing, as well as manufacturers should consider this a must-do to move their operations or many parts of their electronic business into the cloud. With everything being connected all the time, manufacturers need to consider how they can get to the cloud very quickly. In conclusion to all this, I think it's best that you perform a risk assessment on all of your IT systems in place currently. This will help you decide where you have weak points and where you need resiliency, and the cloud can help in this. I believe it's best for you to use a third-party, unbiased organization that can help you analyze this information and help you to drive your decisions to move to the cloud and add better resiliency and efficiencies to your business.
As mentioned at the beginning, I would quickly like to talk about resources available to support manufacturers. The state of Michigan has developed a multi-pronged effort to support businesses along their digital transformation journey with a goal to ensure 50% of all Michigan manufacturers or 6,200 businesses will be prepared to adopt Industry 4.0 by 2025. In order to support manufacturers statewide, there are several resources available. One is through Automation Alley. Automation Alley is an Industry 4.0 knowledge center and is all about awareness. Their goal is helping companies understand what the Industry 4.0 shift means for businesses and culture, and they have a multitude of Industry 4.0 data and resources available to assist Michigan manufacturers. And through the state initiative, all manufacturers in the state have free access to this information. They are currently offering Industry 4.0 leadership evaluations that will show companies how to use Industry 4.0 effectively to grow their business, and will be hosting Integrate in November, which is a global conference which includes keynote presentations, custom panel discussion, and hands-on technology demonstrations. In addition, through this initiative, all small manufacturers can get one free ticket to attend. In addition to Automation Alley, the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center is providing in-depth technology assessments for small to medium-sized manufacturers, recommending Industry 4.0 technologies best suited for profitability improvement and job retention for each unique business. Additionally, they are providing the opportunity for companies to see technologies firsthand through their roadshows. These are being scheduled all across the state, so please go to their website at thecenter.org to find out when one will be in your area. In addition to these statewide initiatives, there are also regional programming initiatives. These include providing regional webinars like today, and our goal is to continue to provide more educational content for companies as they move forward. So if there are specific items that you would like to learn about, please reach out to us and let us know so that we can dig deeper and provide more information for you. So along with the educational component, we are also offering company assessments and technical assistance projects. Through these, MGA and EGI will work to ensure manufacturers in Southwest Michigan, Northeast Michigan, and the Upper Peninsula have the foundation and practical knowledge to move forward with implementing elements of Industry 4.0 to ensure that they remain competitive in the years to come. And in all our history of running programs to support small to medium-sized manufacturers, what really gets your attention most is when there is funding available to help you. So in our regional program, we will qualify a limited number of companies with high potential projects for a $10,000 grant in matching funds towards the implementation of one of the identified Industry 4.0 projects. So now that you have learned a little about the Industry 4.0 technologies from our presenter today, you might be wondering, how do I know if my company is ready to implement some of these technologies? The next step of the MGA EGI regional partnership is for interested companies. EGI will conduct a top-down analysis of your company. So of course, after signing a non-disclosure agreement to ensure your company's data is protected and excluded from any Freedom of Information Act, EGI will conduct a detailed financial analysis of your company, including a ratio analysis and a company valuation. So if you have ever wondered what your company would be valued at, EGI's analysis will not only help you better understand its value, but its analysis will allow us to see your firm's stability and strength and financial aptitude to handle and integrate new technologies. And for companies that show they have good financial stability and aptitude, EGI will then come to your facility and conduct an operational analysis to further evaluate other areas of your business critical to tech integration. You know, that'd be leadership, sales, planning, marketing, people. Both the financial and operational analysis are done at no cost to you and have very minimal time commitment. Our output of these analysis is a leveled set recommendations to increase your firm's value and the recommendation for high leverage points of Industry 4.0 adoption that will be recommended as implementation projects to use that $10,000 on. So to implement these high leverage point projects, our team will find the best resources for you to implement this project and will project manage its implementation alongside of your team. So if you are interested in qualifying for this $10,000 or you just want to learn more about Industry 4.0, reach out to either Jen DeMond at the Manufacturing Growth Alliance or myself. Our contact information is on the screen. And I thank you so much for joining us today and hope that we can connect too soon. Thank you so much.